the woman who wrote A Miracle in a Coffee. In the early 1990s, there was a woman who often sat in a small cafe in Edinburgh, Scotland. She wasn't famous. She didn't have much money. Sometimes, all she could afford was a single cup of coffee, and that was her ticket to sit for hours and write. Her name was Joanne Kathleen Rowling. At that time, she was a single mother, newly divorced, raising a baby, and relying on government assistance to survive. There were days when hope felt thin, emotionally, financially, mentally. But she held on to one thing, a story in her mind, about a boy with glasses, a lightning-shaped scar, and a magical world the real world had never seen. One day, while riding a train to London, the idea of Harry Potter suddenly came to her. She had no pen, no paper, so she carried the story in her head until she got home. That's where the slow, patient writing of a world that would later change millions of lives began. But what followed wasn't easy. After finishing the manuscript of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, she sent it to publishers. 1, 2, 10, 12, 12 rejections. Imagine that. 12 times someone told her, "This won't sell. This isn't interesting. There's no market for this kind of story." If she had stopped at the second rejection, or the fifth, or the 10th, there would be no Hogwarts. No, Hermione. No, you're a wizard, Harry. But one small publishing house finally said, "Let's give it a try." What's even more surprising, the first print run was only 500 copies, most of them sent to libraries. Not a bestseller, not viral. Just quiet. And then something happened. Children cried at the end of the book. Parents picked it up just out of curiosity and finished the whole series. Teachers used it to help kids fall in love with reading. Slowly, the story spread like a hidden flame that no one notices at first, but once it catches, it can't be stopped. And that's when the miracle began. J.K. Rowling, once one of the poorest single mothers in the UK, became one of the most successful authors in history. But more important than fame or fortune was this truth she later shared. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. In simple terms, her lowest point became the very ground she stood on to rise again. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because she didn't stop writing when it was hard, uncertain, or unseen. And that's where her story becomes relatable to all of us. We may not be writing novels, but maybe we're building podcasts, videos, businesses, relationships, dreams. Sometimes life feels like a cafe moment too. One cup of coffee, one quiet table, one idea you're not sure will go anywhere, but you try anyway. And maybe that's exactly how miracles begin. If there's one lesson from J.K. Rowling's story, it's this. You don't have to be ready to start. You just have to start, even when you're not ready. Because sometimes, the story that changes your life, and the lives of others, begins with just one page, one idea, one step you're not sure will work, but you take it anyway.